Hi, I'm Jonathan Tripodi, and this video is to introduce you to the Gung Fu Cha tea ceremony. Now, I don't claim to be a master at tea or serving tea, but this ceremony was introduced to me a couple of years ago, and it has changed my life in the most positive way. And so I want to share this ceremony with others. And those people I've shared it with have really enjoyed the ceremony, and of course they want to begin bringing the value of this ceremony into their lives. So they have lots of questions. So I'm hoping that this video will provide you with what you need to begin serving tea to yourself and others and experiencing the beautiful healing and spiritual meditative benefits of Gung Fu Cha tea ceremony. So let's begin with a tea tray. This is a more ornamental tea tray that has a drip tray underneath. Any of the tea or water that is poured, if it drips, can go into the drip tray. This is a smaller version made of bamboo, and water drips into there. This is a nice travel tray, which I bring with me when I travel. Smaller and compact. So you'll need a tea table, and next you're going to need what's called a cha hai, which is this little vessel here. You'll need something to steep the tea in. That would be a gaiwan. The gaiwan, you put the tea inside, put a lid on it, pour water in it, let it steep, and then pour the tea into your cha hai, and the cha hai then pours the tea into the teacup. Now, in addition to a gaiwan, there are teapots. And there are many different types of pots made of different substances. Some are made of clay. Yixing clay is very famous. This is a smaller pot. This might be nice for 1 or 2 people. Might be good for 3 or 4. And this is actually a Korean pot. It's very distinct because it has the long handle. A lot of the Korean pots are shaped in this way. This one can serve 6 or 7 people. And instead of a cha hai, you would pour the tea into this, they call it a fairness pitcher. And from here you can pour into the cups. Okay? You're definitely going to need water, something to heat the water in. Tea kettle. And some tea kettles are on a base that has multiple temperature settings. And this is important, especially when you're starting out, because different teas require different temperatures to steep in. It's nice to have a tea cloth. This is a microfiber cloth. If there's ever any spills or if anything gets on the pot, you want to wipe it off. This absorbs it very quickly. Optional accessories to your ceremony are incense. So this is a little incense box with sandalwood incense burning, which is really a nice accent. You see a little candle. And you could also have a little vase with flowers. So when you're setting up your tea table, you're creating a place of relaxation, a place where you can unwind, and a place where you can enjoy tea, but also to appreciate scents and beauty. You might be able to see the fish tank here nearby. And there's also, if you have a tea table, you might put it near a window where you can observe trees, nature outside the window. I have a place where I feed the birds, and people who are drinking tea with me can actually watch birds, watch fish, and enjoy tea. This whole space is wide open for creativity. You get to create that beautiful space for yourself and for your friends. So now I'd like to share with you some of the different teas that you can drink during your tea ceremony. There's some basic types of tea that come from China, specifically the Yunnan province of China, where tea was really born from thousands of years ago. Tea trees in those mountain ranges have been harvested and processed in a very special way to preserve the nutrients, the qi, the vital energy, and the shen, the spirit of the tea. And these teas can be packaged in different ways. So this particular tea is a pu'er tea, which is a fermented tea. Ripe pu'er is dried and fermented. It can be fermented for several years and compressed into these cakes. So what you do here is you use your little pick and you get underneath the tea and you kind of gently chisel away a little piece. You know, get all the little extra, and there we go. You can see where this tray is helpful because you can make a mess a little bit. This way all the tea falls into the tray, and I'm going to use my gaiwan and let all that tea flow right out of the tray and into the gaiwan. You might be able to see here how much tea I've put into this vessel, the gaiwan. It's important to learn how much tea to use, and that depends on how many people you're serving and also the amount of tea relative to the container that you're putting it in. So for this size container, that's a good amount of tea. But you know, you play with this, right? As you begin to serve tea and prepare tea, a little more, a little less, you'll figure it out. That's ripe pu'er, and ripe pu'er can be steeped at just below boiling temperature. So boiling's about 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to boil at about 205. And again, I have a teapot at the base that tells me what the temperature is, so I can do that. It makes it easy when you're first learning. After a while, you can almost boil the water and then let it cool and know about when to pour it, when it reaches that temperature that's right for your tea. So you're going to need that tea tray and a tea pick to serve pu'er tea or tea that's been compressed into cakes. There are other teas. This is a wild black tea. It's very tasty. Wild meaning that the trees are grown wild. They're not in an orchard. Black tea is also very processed, so it's very hard and crispy, and you can use higher temperature water to steep it. There is also oolong tea. Oolong tea is less processed than black tea and pu'er tea. So a lot of times you'll hear of oolongs being roasted. So they're a little darker, they are hard, and these little tea leaves have been rolled. Okay. Those require a slightly less hot of a temperature. So for black tea and for ripe pu'er, I might use 202 degrees Fahrenheit. You can use 180, 184 degrees for oolongs. White tea and green tea. Now, these are the least processed teas. They're almost just harvested right off the trees or bushes. And as you can see, they're lightly colored, still green from, they're that raw. But they have been humidified and dried, so they are dried. But here you go. This would require a much cooler temperature, specifically 176, 178 degrees. You can burn the tea. So a white tea, if you use boiling water on it, yes, you're going to get some flavor out of it, but it's going to burn the tea and give it a more astringent, bitter taste. rather than a sweeter taste. Green and white teas are summer teas because they're cooling. They're the strongest in caffeine content and have the most antioxidant power. These teas that I've just described to you and showed to you are really healing teas. They're not just for the joy and the flavor and the aroma, but they're actually prescribed in China for different ailments. In general, teas are very therapeutic, especially high quality teas like the ones I'm showing you. I'm going to have information at the end of this video of where you can source really high quality teas that have been harvested according to tradition and have been maintained and stored in the proper way so that they don't get moldy. I want to share with you the teas that I drink because they come from really high quality sources, places where trees are 400, 600, 800 years old. And their root systems are very deep into the earth, and they're drawing lots of rich minerals and nutrients into the leaves. Places where they grow on mountainsides in China or Taiwan, where the elements, the energy of the land, and the spirit of the land is infused into the teas. Oolong teas are good fall and spring teas. They're really good anytime, but if you had to pick a season, it would be fall and spring. They're good for the heart and circulation. Then you have the pu'er teas, and the pu'er teas are great for digestion, and they also are good for cholesterol and high blood pressure. They're warming teas, so they're great in the wintertime. Black teas are the same. Very good to have in the wintertime. There's also a raw pu'er. Now I mentioned ripe pu'er, but there's a raw pu'er that has a very strong detoxification property, especially for the liver. So that's good during the equinoxes, the spring equinox and the fall equinox, because that's when our body is prompted to detoxify. But in particular, the spring equinox, which is the liver detox season. So that's a good time to drink raw pu'er. But again, all these teas can be enjoyed all year long, but each tea has a specific property that tends to be associated with a particular season. So let's begin our tea ceremony. I have some tea already in my gaiwan. My water has boiled and cooled to the appropriate temperature for this particular tea. There's a knack to serving tea, and it really comes with practice. It's helpful to watch people who are experienced in serving tea serve, so you kind of watch their body mechanics. But in the end, this video would suffice for that, and you just practice. So if you burn your hands a couple of times, don't get too frustrated. When you're pouring from a gaiwan, you simply take the lid and tilt it a little bit to open up just a small amount of space, and then that allows for the water to come out but the tea to stay in. I'm going to pour this beautiful tea. One of the ways you can judge a really high quality tea is that it'll be clear. A lot of teas have molded. A lot of the bag tea that we're accustomed to drinking is moldy tea. Sorry to say that, but it's true. And until you really drink super high quality tea, you may not even have a reference for what the possibilities are with tea. So again, the information I'm going to share with you at the end of this video about where you can source your tea, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, especially if you're already a tea drinker, at the quality of the tea that you'll receive. But one way to tell is to look through the tea, and it should be completely translucent. All tea has a beautiful color to it. Sometimes yellow, sometimes red, sometimes orange. They all have a different hue, sometimes green. So I'm pouring myself a cup of tea. Slurping is totally appropriate when you drink tea. It cools the tea down, so it's not so hot when it's in your mouth, but it also puts some air into it. It aerates it, so the taste, the flavor, the energy of the tea starts to go up into your palate and even up into your brain. So it's a way to enjoy the tea more fully than to just drink it. Notice the little cups. This is different than just pouring yourself a cup of tea and walking around the house or taking it on the road. This is a time to take a break from your normal routine and from all those things you have on your to-do list. And it's just you, your tea table, your candles, you and the water and the tea. So you enjoy the beauty of the tea, the color of it, the smell of it. It has a wonderful aroma. And then lastly, the taste of the tea. Notice that I'm on the floor, by the way, and I'm sitting on this pretty comfortable yoga prop called a zafu. So it's just a nice padded cushion. Raises me up a little bit high so that my hips are flexible, but not, super flexible. So this takes the stretch off of my hips, so it makes it very comfortable to sit on. There are also larger cushions that you can sit on, and that give you more height. But your tea table doesn't have to be this low; it can be up higher, so you can sit in normal chairs. So the important thing is to be comfortable. Wherever you put your tea table, let it be somewhere that feels very comfortable to you. Tea has this amazing combination of caffeine and an amino acid, a protein called L-theanine. When these two combine, you get the combination of stimulation with relaxation. The L-theanine actually stimulates an alpha brainwave state, which is the state that meditators get into when they're meditating. So when you start to sit like this in a calm, peaceful way, you can have music in the background, soothing music, and you begin to drink these teas, you're suddenly going to feel that sensation of, your mind, your body start to relax. You get joyful and happy inside. The cares, the stresses that you've had, bringing into the ceremony start to fade. And you start to really enjoy this tea. It's like, it's so good. And if you have troubles with meditation, it is helpful to drink tea first. Get that alpha brainwave state going with the tea. And then from there, begin your meditation practice. Or, if you want to be like me, this is your meditation. This is your quiet time. This is your place of solitude, your sanctuary. It's where you recenter yourself. It's where you quiet your mind and get into your senses and into your body. Begin to get more connected to yourself. You spend most of the day connecting with the outside world. This is a nice way to get connected with your inside world. And the L-theanine helps you to do that and experience that yourself in a very joyful and a blissful way. They call it a tea high, so if you want to Google tea high, you can learn more about what that's about. Apparently, L-theanine is only found in teas and certain mushrooms. So that makes tea extra special. A really good tea you can steep several times. Unlike bag tea, you might get 1 or 2 steeps in. Some of these teas you can get 7, 8, 15. A really good ripe pu'er tea, you can steep 20 times. When I did my first tea ceremony, I sat down just as I am now with a friend of mine who was serving tea. There was a group of us, and 4 hours went by, and nobody knew where the time went. So when you start to drink tea, it takes you out of normal time, and you're suddenly in a timeless state, in a joyful place. When you share tea with friends, it starts to evoke conversations where you start talking about your life and different experiences that you're having, and you begin to get inspired. Your mind relaxes, your logical, stressful mind relaxes, and your creative mind begins to open up, and you start getting insights. You start getting awarenesses. And my friends and I call this tea talk. So after about a half hour of tea, the talk really changes from just the kind of mundane, casual conversation to something more soulful, something deeper. Some tea, like this oolong tea, comes pre-wrapped in little ready-to-go packages, so you don't have to guess how much tea to put in your vessel, whether it's a teapot or a gaiwan. So this is very nice. If you buy loose tea, you're going to want a container. It'll come in these little bags that are sealed, and that keeps them fresh. But once you open it and it gets exposed to the air, and depending on how much humidity you have where you live, the teas can dry out and it can lose its flavor over time. Now, granted, green teas and white teas, they're only fresh for a few months. But oolongs and pu'er teas and black teas, they can last for, a few years. But still, it's good to put the teas in an airtight container. So here's what you have. Just a little container like this. This tea canister has a plastic seal here, and then a secondary lid to go over top. It's decorative, it's pretty. What I do is I put the label of the tea underneath the can so that I remember what's in it. Here's another little tea canister. You notice it's got a lot of green in it, so guess what I put inside this canister? Green tea. So anyway, sometimes you can color code it that way. There are many different kind of cups. These are pretty. They have designs inside them of plants that are indigenous to China. These are beautiful cups here that a potter made. So they're made of clay, but they're pretty and they're nice to drink from. Some additional tea tools that might be helpful to you. This little scoop. This is really helpful with teas like oolong teas. These little round rolled leaves. So you just can scoop them out much easier to get that precise amount that you want to put into your pot or your gaiwan. This little scoop. This little device here is nice because sometimes tea that you pour, sometimes a tea leaf escapes and gets into the cup. So you can use this to kind of pull it out. Poker end can sometimes be used to help lift tea, like a tea cake. If you don't have a stainless steel poker like this one, you can use this bamboo poker. When you go to the websites that I'm going to share with you at the end of the video, where it'll tell you, at this website, yunansourcing.com. They're based out of China, but they have a yunansourcing.us branch, a United States branch. But you'll be able to get all these tools through them. You'll be able to get the cha hai, the gaiwan, the pots. You'll be able to get cups if you want, certainly a tea tray. You can get yourself a set of tea tools here, which includes a scooper. Usually they're made of bamboo. Bamboo is really sturdy. The tea kettle that I use, which I really like, it's called a Krups. Krups. That's the brand. But look at it. It's a beautiful pot. It's glass, so you can watch the water boil. And it's a good size. Some are smaller and some are bigger. The bigger ones are harder to lift over and over again. So this is a good size, good medium size. And it sits on a base that's portable. And again, it has different temperature selections here for the different teas. There's a great little book that if you're interested in this ceremony, I recommend you reading. It was written by a Zen tea master. It's a very thin book. It's called Tea Life, Tea Mind. And it talks about the history of tea and how tea originally was enjoyed by royalty in China. And then eventually the spiritual groups like the Zen monks and the Buddhist monks got a hold of the tea, and they found that because of the meditative state that this tea can put you in was a benefit to them in their spiritual practice. Then as time went on, there was the tea actually came down to the common person. And common people would reach out to tea as a way to alleviate the stresses and the suffering that they were experiencing in their life. Some monks will use teas too because it's so nutritious and so healing that they may go days without food, but the tea sustains them. But the book goes on to say, all the way to set up a ceremony, and it talks about kind of the philosophy of tea. And one of the things I really appreciated about it was that it said that, different traditions approach the tea ceremony differently. Some approach it with, there's lots of protocol, very specific. You do everything this way, a very certain way. That would be more the Japanese approach. His Zen approach was very simple, 4 steps. You boil the water, you pour the water, you steep the tea, and you drink the tea. And suddenly life gets really simple when all you're doing is focusing on 4 steps. So as you begin to engage in this ceremony, you start to enjoy the movement of water from the teapot to the gaiwan, and from the gaiwan to the chahai, and from the chahai to your cup, and from the cup into your mouth. It's this whole movement of water, and you're just appreciating the flavors and the aroma of the tea and realizing it came from these 400, 600, 800-year-old trees on some mountainside in the Yunnan province of China. That these beautiful people who for generations have harvested these tea leaves and done it in a very special way, and they put their heart and their soul into harvesting these leaves, who cherish the tea, it's like medicine, have prepared these teas, and they've come to you and you're drinking them now. And so you're connected to this, all of this, the land and the people, and also the history. You're connected to the history of tea, to the Zen monks, and to the Chinese royalty, and to all those people in China who've been enjoying these teas for centuries. Lastly, I want to share with you one of the benefits of this tea ceremony is the benefit of giving to others, to helping others de-stress, to relax. So many of my friends and family have come and had a difficult time, or they're going through difficult times, or they're stressed about something that happened that day, or they're going through just some life changes, and those changes are, emotionally challenging. And they come and I just say, sit down, tell me about your day, or tell me what's going on, and let me serve you some tea. And as they begin to share with me all that they're going through, I'm focusing on boiling the water and pouring the water, preparing the tea and serving them tea. And with each cup that they drink, they suddenly begin to feel that relaxation effect and that joy start to come in. And suddenly their mood changes. And it brings me great pleasure to be able to serve people in this way and to give them that time out from their troubles, and to find sanctuary here at the tea table. It also increases intimacy with partners. So like my partner, Angie, and I sit at the tea table every day, and we talk about our feelings, we talk about our thoughts, we talk about our aspirations, we talk about whatever we want to talk about. And it's a way of sharing our lives with each other over tea. It brings us closer together that way, because so much of the time in our lives we don't have that time. We're talking at each other, but over, making dinner or doing dishes or, passing from one room to the next. How often do we get the chance with our loved ones to really sit down and really connect with each other? So the tea table becomes a way to do that. So for those of you who want to be of service in that healing way to others, and who want to cultivate deeper intimacy with those you love, you might enjoy the Gung Fu Cha tea ceremony. Thank you.